first song I played, well, I guess I played all 3 songs in one. The first one was an original. The other 2 are some of my favorite songs. One is by Rodrigo, Gabriella, one of my biggest influences. And the second one was Last Masquerade. Last Masquerade. The third song I played.
All right. We'll look out for that guy. You play with the Endorphins and Sweet Medicine, and there was one more group?
Circus.
Circus. Cool.
Again, Circus, cool.
Okay, next up we have Ellen Murphy with the Whatcom Peace and Justice Vigil. Her bio is brief, but potent. Ellen Murphy is with the Whatcom Peace and Justice Vigil, which occurs every Friday at 4 p.m. at the front of the Federal Building, and she'll take it over from here.
Yay!
4 to 5 p.m. You know that while they're setting up, that alternative library said they go far right and far left. I looked at the books. They're all far left. He scared me for a minute. Okay. Once upon a time, there was a war. And a war. And another war. And a war, and a war, and a war. And once upon a time, there was a vigil. And another vigil. And a vigil, and a vigil, and a vigil. You guys inspired me to think of that. I didn't plan on saying it. So much creativity here. Well, the Whatcom Peace and Justice Vigil is the mother of the Whatcom Peace and Justice Center, not the other way around. This vigil was founded in 1967. It's the longest continuous vigil in the United States. Yay, yeah. And it was founded by Howard and Rosemary Harris. And Howard and Rosemary had an alternative school, and Howard taught cultural anthropology at Western. And Howard still teaches correspondence courses through Western's continuing education, and Howard is 93 years old. So, I'm the second oldest person in the room, so I get to look at my notes. Oh, so that's why the Whatcom Peace and Justice Center, and we are brothers and sisters of the Vigil, or children, as I said, of the Vigil. We have an annual Lifetime Peacemaker Award that we present every year at the International Day of Peace event, which was described way earlier in the day, on September 21st. And we call that Lifetime Peacemaker Award the Howard Harris Lifetime Peacemaker Award. So thank you, Howard. I thought I'd say maybe 2 things about how a vigil can be experienced. One is as a spiritual practice, or if you prefer the word, a moral practice, moral way of living practice. And I guess when people talk about having a practice, they mean that they are committed to it, and that it is a thing that deepens as you do it and grows as you do it and teaches you as you do it. And so many people do have a commitment and show up every Friday if they possibly can. And another way of looking at it, attending a vigil, being a vigil, is as a practice of democracy. It's open to everyone. Everyone is welcome. Sometimes that's a little bit difficult. Sometimes it presents challenges. For example, People can come, people can bring any sign they want. And a recent sign was promote child labor. I think maybe it was an anti-abortion sign, the person said. But, and then we had someone coming for a while with signs like eat organic and quit smoking. You know, those were things that I think could, we could feel that represented peace and justice, but they were a little bit diluting to our main message, which is please stop the militarism, please stop the oppression. And so those are probably part of it. I'm not knocking it. It's just that when it's democracy, you know, it's open to everybody. During the build-up to the invasion of Iraq, the second invasion, the first one was in 1990 by his daddy. The second invasion was in '03, and there was a massive, massive, massive growth to the vigil. And of course, protests all over the world. Protests so huge that the New York Times said, well, we have to admit now there are two superpowers, the United States of America and public opinion. And our vigil grew. There were hundreds and hundreds of people who came. In the summertime, we average 15 or 20, probably. And of course, how wonderful alternative library people and Food Not Bombs have added to our, does that mean something? Oh, okay. I'm one of those people who actually looks to see if someone's trying to tell me to shut up. Okay, so it was massive, and quite often there were microphones there. There were stages. Someone built a huge stage, and it came rolling in from nowhere, and all kinds of things happened. And the corner, kitty corner from the Federal Building, which isn't really the Federal Building anymore, but we call it that, is a bank. And the pro-war people took over that entire corner. And it was pretty intense. So we made little banners that said Peace Zone, and we had people walking through the crowds, you know, holding these up. And we took another nonviolence training to help us to be able to intervene with aggression and conflict. And it all worked out pretty well, but sometimes it was pretty hot there on the corner of Cornwall and Magnolia. Let's see, I think I'm just about done with my thoughts. Let's see. Oh, the two banners behind me, you may have noticed. Well, you can't have peace without. Absolutely. What? Absolutely. And the person, sometimes people say, well, what can I do? Well, there was a woman named Margie. Well, there still is. She's moving away. She's up in her 80s. She's moving down to California with her daughter. But she's a retired nurse. She did have a background in progressive causes. But one day she said, what can I do? And she decided she would become a banner maker. And I highly recommend that to anyone who wonders what they can do. Think of one thing, be a poet, open a library, become a banner maker. And Margie made these, and I don't know how many banners Margie has made. Really, many, many, many banners. And I told her I was coming here today to talk about the vigil, and I asked her if she would like to come so I could ask her to stand up, because we're going to miss her so much. And she said, no, but please tell them how to make a banner. Nobody makes banners right. So she told me, and I'm going to tell you, it's got to be Tyvek because it's windproof and it doesn't rip. It's got to be, you have to get these big cardboard letters, outline them in waterproof pen, and then paint it in with waterproof paint, have a short but powerful message, and then do the follow-through. That's good to remember with any kind of activism. Margie's follow-through is that she takes pictures. Whenever anyone is marching or vigiling or holding the banners, she takes pictures and sends them to policymakers and the people that she wants to know that we were out there. And so she continues it on. And today, with the technology we have, as you all know far better than I do, that it has started and continued revolution after revolution after revolution since this spring. And so you all know that better than I do, but that's another way of having a sign and a banner. I guess you'd call it a, what, a Twitter and a Facebook. So I'd like to close by sharing that one day, we always have a gathering after the vigil just to share information and ideas, announcements. And one day we were having our gathering, which we call the Peace Zone, after the little flags we made when it was hot. And some young people, young folks came over to us and they said, "We're going to protest you." And we looked up from our tea and coffee and we said, "You are? And how come?" They said, "Well, because you've been doing this for decades. And not only is nothing better, but everything is worse." And boy, they were right. Not everything, though, but a lot of things are worse. And so we said, okay, they only came one day with a sign that Margie disapproved of because you couldn't see it. And I started going to their meetings and getting to know everybody. And my heart is wrenched because it is true. We are at all these tipping points. But I also know that what is true is that every voice deserves to be heard. And I guess every sign that needs to be painted deserves to be painted. And every vigil deserves to be held. So we're going to continue on. Thanks.